Love you're looking for does not require you to figure everything out about them prior to making a decision. I'm going to say this with a lot of humility and grace. This is something that I'm learning. I think we're in a time in the culture everybody needs to have their data sheets in hand to know exactly what they're walking into with everybody. Now, I'm not saying that you don't need to ask questions. I'm not saying that there are a set of important questions that you should ask that are a lot greater than what your favorite food and color is to determine if this relationship makes sense according to your values, something that you find that you want to invest in, commit to. There's a lot of important things that you want to vet out in the dating process or just the connection process, getting to know somebody before making the decision. But hear me when I say this, I don't think that entails and requires you to move in with them. I don't think that entails and requires you to have sex with them to figure out if this is sexually compatible. I don't think that that requires you to know every ounce of their history, their struggles, their tensions before you make the decision to say this is somebody that not only I want to commit to, but that I want to meet at the altar, make my wife, make my husband, and do lifelong journey together. Ultimately, it comes down to you making a decision. Making a decision to say, I may not know it all, but I know enough. And I know enough to make this decision, trusting that the foundational love that this is going to hang in the balance of, which is the greatest love in Christ, that this is what's going to help us remain in a space of transformation, of growth, of evolving together and individually to show up full in this relationship, to navigate this relationship, the highs and lows and the seasons of life moving forward. And there are some things that are really good when you just leave it at an unknown until you reach a space of marriage where such the unknowns prior to now become known, such as sex. Like you don't need to have sex prior to getting married to then make the decision on whether or not there's somebody you want to marry. And I think what trips me out most is some of you have already went that length and still don't want to marry, still delay marriage, still say, I don't know when it comes to the question of when you proposing, of when you're getting married. That's because we continuously make these excuses and try to find loopholes to get marital access to someone who's not even your wife or husband. And it actually lingers the decision, causes greater confusion, and doesn't create healthier relationships oftentimes. Now, of course, are there some in the bunch who have done that and their marriages have been phenomenal? Absolutely. Right? So it's not a message that maybe is a one size fits all. I just want you to consider those of you who are single, those of you who are engaging in romantic relationships, who are trying to decide, okay, is this somebody that I want to commit to? Is this somebody that I want to do life with? Allow the connection to be what it is. Be present in it. Enjoy it. But also understand that in order to walk down the aisle, in order to get the love that you think you really want, you don't have to figure it all out in order to do that. Song of Solomon is such a beautiful picture, a beautiful book in the scriptures, a love poetry between two individuals who are pursuing after one another, who love one another, adore one another, are affectionately connected to one another. That yes, in the context of it, speaks to marriage, speaks to physical, sexual pleasures, all of these things. It's a beautiful book. But one of the takeaways that I get from that entire reading is that love carries mystery. Love carries mystery. The book ends open-endedly. All the ups and downs, the navigations and experiences of this connection that's revealed to us in just 8 short chapters shows that love has a mysterious effect to it. Which means love in and of itself, in its essence, was maybe never designed to be fully known before engaging with. And that because love in and of itself carries a mystery, it invites us to engage with it where we are, knowing that we will grow into the capacity to not only be transformed inwardly through the love that we experience with others, but that love has the capacity to actually create in us what's necessary to continue moving forward with others around us. And sometimes we're just in this space and in this information age where we just need to know everything. We need to know all of it. We need to experience it all. We need to have it all. And what I'm seeing is that it's actually ruining the connection because you need to have it all. It's not enhancing. And I think we need to be okay with some mystery being in the midst of the connections and the love that we want and the relationships that we create. And even though that is towards marriage and romance, I also think about friendships and other relationships around us. Mystery is good. Not knowing it all is good. When you get to the altar, you're not just saying I do to what you know. You're also saying I do to what you don't know. And it's the areas that you don't know that you and your spouse are able to come together. Of course, knowing that you have an individual responsibility to address some things, to be responsible and accountable, to heal some areas that maybe weren't exposed to you before you got married that are exposed to you now. But it's an opportunity for the both of you to come together to work on these things, to grow through these things, and ultimately through the intimacy be transformed into a greater love, a deeper love that continues to evolve as the marriage and relationship grows. So far, what I'm learning through biblical texts, but also through relationships and people that I'm coaching, all these kinds of things. Hey, listen, stop convincing yourself that you have to have it all together, you have to know it all, or you have to be everything before walking into a connection and relationship. Love in and of itself has a mysterious factor to it. And you thinking you need to have it all, know it all, and experience it all before making a decision about said person is really not helpful to the relationship. It's harmful. It's a form of self-sabotaging because you are convinced that you don't know enough. And it comes to a place where you have to ask yourself, will you ever know enough before making a decision? Because ultimately, choosing someone comes down to a decision. Do I have the capacity to journey with this person where they are? You know, my mentor told me once that people aren't ready for marriage. They're often ready for the journey of marriage. And I've pondered on that for a long time because the journey of marriage requires willingness and readiness, an emotional stirring and the willingness to nurture the emotional stirring that comes through maturity, that comes through growth, that comes through the willingness to participate in the connection together by becoming healed individually in order to show up as the best version of yourself to the marriage and connection that's around you. Two individuals who show up full, pouring into one another, that results in overflow. And I think a lot of our relationships are halted because we are trying to figure everything out instead of saying, hey, you know what? I know enough to make a decision, to be present in the connection and relationship I'm in, and just simply decide to choose this person based on their fruit, based on their character, based on how they've shown up, based on their behaviors. I can trust that this is a connection I want to build with, knowing that there are some things that aren't really meant to be experienced prior to marriage that is going to be revealed in marriage that actually brings us to a deeper intimacy together, instead of thinking that we have to have it all figured out in order to do it. You don't need to know your body to the T before getting married to show your spouse how you enjoy what you enjoy. Let that be something y'all learn together. Save and preserve your body so that both of you can learn how to please one another to the greatest extent in marriage. Stop trying to tell yourself that you need to move in with them to see how they live in the everyday before you make a decision. You don't need to know that. That's not hindering the decision. That's a limited belief that you've created that's keeping you from actually making a commitment. It's actually speaking to a fear of commitment. It's actually speaking to a lot of the things that you're saying you aren't afraid of that you really are. And I think that is something that briefly, maybe Song of Solomon references, but I think in a lot of ways, because love carries a mysterious factor to it, love invites us to ponder on and consider. I hope this made sense. If it did, type call it in the comment section below. Follow for more to continue navigating through healing, doing relationships the right way. We're starting to doing healing work on ourselves first, which sometimes looks like being okay with mystery in relationships, because God is love and God is mystery. And it's the mystery that keeps us at his feet, but it's also what brings about a level of enchantment and different levels of enjoyment to the relationships around us. Not because we know it all, but because we're willing to make a decision, even if we don't know it all, to continue moving forward to spaces and areas of transformation and experiencing a greater form of love.